Welcome back. Today's video is going to be all about the worst makeup products that I've ever tried. Now, I have done some videos talking about disappointing products. I recently did a video about products I thought were overpriced or overhyped. This is not this, okay? These were terrible. These are the worst products I've ever tried. They were straight up bad. Now, I realize that there are people who probably did like these, but you know, personal preference and all of that. Some of these products have been discontinued. I mean, a lot of these are really old. I will say that the quality of makeup, I think, has gone up drastically in like the last 5 to 6 years. So some of these were things that I tried way back when makeup was just not that good, particularly at the drugstore. There was some not so great quality stuff there, you know, so things have really improved over time, but some of these are real throwback products. So let me know if you've tried these too. If you're interested in the makeup that I'm wearing, I did film a get ready with me using the best and worst products from the Shop Miss A website. So I will link that in the description box and in the cards if you do want to see that, and let's get started. Alrighty, first up is the Maybelline Pure Makeup Foundation. This came in a green little squeezy tube. This, from what I saw, does not exist anymore. This was the first liquid foundation I ever bought, and it was so horrible. Now, let me know if you guys tried this. I mean, this was a throwback. I mean, I bought this like 12 years ago. And I was someone who was a bit of a late bloomer to makeup, and I wore very minimal makeup until I was around 23, which is when I discovered the beauty community, and everybody was wearing liquid foundation. So I wanted to try it, and I just went to the drugstore and bought the first one that I could find. There was not a lot of selection where I lived at that time. And like I said, drugstore makeup around 12 years ago was not what it is now. And so I bought this Maybelline one, and it was so bad. I used up the whole thing, and it would just fall apart throughout the day, fade within an hour. I have combination skin, so that kind of is a problem for me, but I even used setting powder and I used primer. I could not get this to stay on my face no matter what I did. And for the longest time, I thought that it was me because I was new to kind of wearing a full face and I'd never worn liquid foundation before. But then after this, I bought a MAC foundation, and it was so much better. I was like, oh my gosh, that Maybelline, it was so bad. I mean, I'm glad they discontinued this because it was terrible. Next up is a product that I did buy because of YouTube, and that was the Sigma Dare palette. This palette came out in 2012, so that was a while ago, and I have to say, Sigma has come a long way since then. I do own 3 of their newer palettes that they've come out with in the last like 2 years, and those are fantastic. But this palette was so bad. It was chalky, it had no pigment, just terrible. I mean, could not get anything to show up on my eyes, and if I did, even with eye primer, it would fade away. It was so bad. And I remember they had like this trio that this was the Dare one that was like yellow and red. And then there was one, I think that was more purple and green. I don't know. I didn't try those other two, but this was so bad. And this is the reason I did not try any Sigma palettes again for a very long time, until last year, I think, when I bought the Enchanted palette. And absolutely, they have reformulated. It's nothing like this palette was, but yeah, the Dare palette was straight up awful. One of the few kind of newer things on this list is the Becca Ultimate Coverage Foundation. This is something I got in BoxyCharm last year, and I did finish it up. I panned the whole thing, but I had to mix it with other foundations, and even then it was so thick and cakey, but it still didn't last well. I don't know. Honestly, so many of you guys have also told me that you did not like this foundation, and yeah, it just seems like it was not very popular because it was so thick, so heavy, but it didn't last well throughout the day. It was so unflattering, and like I said, I used it up by mixing it in with some more liquidy foundations, and I could make it pretty good with that, but it still wasn't amazing. Yeah, this was just really terrible. And yeah, I did get this in BoxyCharm. And I also do have the Ultimate Coverage Concealer from this line, and that one is also pretty dry, but that one I can make work by mixing with a different creamier concealer. But this foundation, yeah, no good. This is another older type product, and it was the original Too Faced Born This Way concealer. This is the one that came out, it was about 4 years ago, maybe even a little bit longer. And now they have that full coverage one that they came out with, which I do have, and actually that is a good concealer. But this original one that they came out with was awful. I hated it. Now, a lot of people did like this then, because again, this is something I saw people on YouTube using, and it seemed that a lot of people liked this, but it didn't work for me. Now, my under eyes, they're a bit finicky. This concealer, it was thin and had very little coverage, but it was also very dry, but it creased a lot. I don't really know how they managed to do that, but it was just like dry, no coverage. It looked so bad on my under eyes. Also, the packaging leaked on this, which I gotta say that is a bit of a pet peeve of mine when packaging leaks. Like, this happens a lot with some cheaper lip glosses I've seen, but this is a high-end concealer, and I just don't think that they should be releasing a product that is leaking all over the place. Now, I get, you know, packaging flaws happen and all of that, but regardless, the concealer itself just, it made my under eyes look so bad, but it didn't even give any coverage. It was just terrible. Let me know if you guys try this, because yeah, again, this is one that people were talking about, and it seemed that people did like it, but you know, I have finicky under eyes, so maybe that is the reason. This next one makes me a little bit sad because I do like a lot of products for Wet n Wild, but I'm just gonna go ahead and categorize all mascaras by Wet n Wild. I've tried like 6 or 7 of them over the last, I don't know, 12 years plus. They never work for me, never, not once. They either just don't show up at all, there's no volume, there's no lengthening, nothing, or they flake or smudge and just no. I mean, I've given Wet n Wild a fair shot with mascara, and I've tried them even as recently as last year. And yeah, I'm not even gonna bother. There's no point. There's other great mascaras at the drugstore, but yeah, the ones from Wet n Wild that I've tried, not good. Okay, here's another older product, but this was so hyped. People were loving these, the ColourPop Ultra Matte Lips. Now, this was in the peak of the matte liquid lipsticks. Every brand was releasing them. Everybody was obsessed. Oh my gosh, these were so dry and thick, and they would crumble off the lips, and they were so high maintenance. I don't know why I kept buying these. I bought like 10 or 15 of these. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just kind of like going with the trends and not really, you know, taking my own personal considerations into account. But they were so thick. Now, I will say, I actually am a very big liquid lipstick fan these days. I like to wear neutral colors with a gloss on top. However, I tried that with these ColourPop ones. I could not do it because they were so thick. When I put a gloss on top, it became this goopy, disgusting disaster, and it looked awful, and it felt awful on the lips. It felt like a thick coating of something. It was so bad. I mean, and I kept buying these and I kept buying them, and people were like, these are amazing. And then at one point they're like, they reformulated. No, they still weren't good. I really hated these. And honestly, I don't love the Ultra Satin Lips from ColourPop either. I don't think they were as bad, but they were also a bit thick. And again, I mean, I didn't like them on their own, and even with a gloss on top, it was pretty uncomfortable, but the Ultra Matte Lips were just the worst in my opinion. And I know people were really loving these, and I don't know if that's just because we were all on this like ColourPop like hype train. They're only $6. Liquid lipsticks are all the rage, so everybody was just into it. I don't know, but yeah, they also expired very quickly. Mine went bad, and I say bad, like rancid smelling, separating, leaking out of the packaging, just really gross, within a year, which honestly was probably a good thing so that I didn't have to use them anymore. And then I finally realized I need to stop buying these things because they were so awful. But yeah, I'm definitely kicking myself for having purchased so many of these. This is another older product, and I looked this up and it is still in existence, the L'Oreal True Match Blush. This True Match line from L'Oreal has been around a long time and it still exists, but this blush, I got it in a peachy color and it was a beautiful peach. This is actually the first blush I ever bought because, like I said, I was a bit of a late bloomer with makeup, and I never wore blush because I felt like it made me look younger. I looked very young when I was in my 20s. I mean, I was 24 and people thought I was 13. I looked really young, and I didn't want to look younger, so I thought that blush would make me look younger. But once I started watching YouTube and I just realized the beauty of blush, and now I'm absolutely obsessed with blush. But this one was just not that pigmented, and it faded so quickly. It was like kind of like that Maybelline foundation. I bought them around the same time when I was kind of first getting into the whole full face of makeup thing. And again, I thought it was me because the blush was just fading within an hour. It was just totally disappeared. And I panned this whole blush because it was the only one I had at the time. But then I bought a MAC blush, kind of same story as the Maybelline foundation. And I was like, wow, okay, this blush is actually pigmented and actually does not fade off my face within 35 minutes. So yeah, maybe they've reformulated these. I don't know. Like I said, these are still available, but yeah, I really hated this. Then we have one of the Aoa primers. So like I said, I'm wearing a full face of Shop Miss A makeup, and there's a lot from them I really like. But I bought their Aoa primer, the one that comes in the black packaging that is kind of clear in the middle. Now, maybe they formulated this differently now because I bought it 2 years ago. It was like a pore filling clear primer. I thought it was going to be like the Smashbox one, but it had chunks of glitter in it, like chunks of glitter. I was just very, very confused. Why were there chunks of glitter in a pore filling primer? This was just really weird. So I don't know if you guys have purchased this more recently, let us know. Maybe they've gotten rid of that. I don't know, but I do have 2 other primers from them, which I did talk about in that video that I really like. But this, yeah, chunks of glitter in anything I'm not a fan of. I'm okay with a bit of a glittery highlighter or like glittery shimmery eyeshadows, but chunks of glitter in like primers or foundations, I don't really understand that. And I'm going to talk about another product later that was unnecessarily shimmery. That was also awful. But yeah, this primer was a big no. Next up on the list is the Nyx Avant Pop Palette. Now, I've had pretty bad luck with NYX eyeshadows over the years. I've had several palettes from them. They ranged from mediocre to really, really bad, and this one was on the really bad side. This palette had some beautiful shades in it, and I did keep it in my collection for quite a while because at that point I really didn't have some of these colors in other palettes, so I did keep it around for that for quite some time. But then I just realized these lacked pigmentation so badly. And despite wearing eye primer, they would fade off my eyes, which never happens to me. If I wear eye primer, my good old tried and true, either the Maybelline or I'm wearing the Pretty Vulgar one today, which I do like that one, I have no problem with eyeshadow creasing or fading, nothing like that. I do have oily eyelids, but if I use one of those traditional eye primers, I'm good. I have no issues. But these, despite that, would fade after like 1 hour. It was so, so sad. They were dusty and chalky. I mean, it was kind of like that Sigma palette, just no pigment, nothing, fade away to nothing. Just, yeah, really, really terrible. And other palettes I've tried from NYX, you know, like the Ultimate Brights palette, I had that one for a while and I did like that one. I thought that was much better than the Avant Pop and some of their other older palettes that I tried. It still wasn't super pigmented, but it wouldn't like fade away to nothing. But yeah, the Avant Pop, this was just absolutely awful. Sadly, another NYX product made it onto this list. There's actually a lot from NYX that I do enjoy, but their Stay Matte Not Flat foundation was awful. This may have been worse than that Maybelline foundation because this just looked bad. Like the Maybelline didn't necessarily look awful. It just faded off my face to absolutely nothing. But this one from NYX was so weird because it was called Matte Not Flat. So it was supposed to be a mattifying foundation, but not extremely mattifying. And I have combo skin, so for something to be too matte on me doesn't happen a lot, but this was just, it clung to any dry patch, or it clung to parts of my face that weren't even that dry, but it just looked really terrible. And also it would crease and fall away and like clump up in certain areas. It wouldn't just like fade away like that Maybelline one did. It would just like clump up in certain areas and stick to certain parts of my face, and it looked so bad. It really did make my skin look really crepey and creasy. And no matter what powder, no matter what primer, no matter what skincare I did, I could not make it work. And I don't know that, yeah, that Becca one was really bad too. Okay, I've got 3 foundations on this list, but the NYX one was definitely the worst. The Becca was the second worst, and Maybelline, I'm gonna say third because it didn't look as bad. It just faded away really quickly. All right, last up on this list, maybe the product that angers me the most, because people hyped this up so much and I don't understand. I don't know what happened. The e.l.f. HD Under Eye Setting Powder. They still have this, but it's in a different package, and it makes me think that they have reformulated it, because I went specifically on the e.l.f. website to look up the reviews to see what is going on with this powder, because the one I had, it was a tiny little more like square packaging. It was shimmery. I mean, it looked like a highlighter. I put it under my eyes and it accentuated my lines so bad because it was a shimmery powder. And people were saying, this is amazing. This is the best under eye powder ever. I was so confused when I bought that. I thought, did I get a defective one? Did they accidentally dump some highlighter in here? I just really didn't know what happened, because so many people on YouTube at that time, again, this was like 4 years ago, people were saying this is great. And maybe those people had really nice and flawless under eyes and didn't have lines like I do, but it was just so strange to me that it was extremely shimmery. I think that this was maybe just like a fluke that happened, or they reformulated it quickly after, because like I said, now they sell this powder. It appears to be in a circle packaging. It comes in different colors. This one also was just like a translucent. It didn't come in any colors. So now it's being sold in different colors, and the reviews on the e.l.f. website were pretty good, and nobody said anything about it being shimmery. So I think they've totally reformulated this, and who knows, maybe I just got a bad one that someone accidentally, you know, dumped some highlighter in there, but yeah, shimmery under eyes are just not flattering on me at all. Alrighty, that is it for this video. I've ranted and raved long enough, but seriously, these products were just so awful for me. I tried so hard to make all of these work. Some of these I even completely panned them because it was at a time where I didn't have a lot of makeup and I didn't want to be wasteful. And I thought that maybe it was me and my skills, but once I tried different products, I realized I wasn't quite as bad at makeup as I thought I was. It was just these products. So please let us know, what are the worst, absolute most terrible products you've ever tried? I'm very, very curious. And like I said, the products that come out now, it's rare for me to try something that is just this awful, because I just think things have improved a lot, which is great. Honestly, that is great. More options, way better options at the drugstore than there used to be, and formulations have improved a lot. So let us know, what is the worst product that you've ever tried, and if you do want to see this makeup look, I will link that Get Ready With Me video. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.